All right, the biggest news that we are tracking for you comes in from the Parliament, where the centre is all set to push the Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill 2026 in the Parliament as part of its legislative agenda during the monsoon session today. The bill seeks to tighten the framework governing foreign contributions received by organizations in India while introducing new administrative provisions for handling assets of organizations that lose their FCRA registration. Now, one of the key provisions empowers a designated authority to take provisional control of assets created using foreign funds if an organization's FCRA registration is cancelled, surrendered, or not renewed. If the registration is restored, the assets can be returned. If not, the law lays down a framework for their management and disposal. Well, the bill also proposes reducing the maximum punishment for certain FCRA violations from 5 years to 1 year, while setting timelines and procedural safeguards for the utilization of foreign contributions received under prior permission. Now, the government says that the amendments are aimed at improving transparency, accountability, and preventing the misuse of foreign funds in the interest of national security and public order. With that, let's deep dive into what the FCRA Amendment Bill is, because it will help you give a perspective of what we are trying to explain to you, why it matters, why it's creating so much controversy, and who is in fact going to table this bill in front of the Parliament today. So, let's look at the FCRA Amendment Bill on social media. This is existing social media accounts to undergo FCRA disclosure requirements. So, there is already a FCRA bill in place, a law is there. Under that law, even for social media accounts, you will have to disclose the requirements or the prerequisites that have been listed down. Let's also look at how NGOs will have to disclose official website and social media accounts under the FCRA rules. Now, remember that social media is the need of the hour. A lot of NGOs are using it, but the government has to monitor all these social media handles and profiles that are created. So, now all the NGOs have been requested that they please announce or they register their social media handles under the new rules. Let's also look at how digital account information to be included in the FCRA returns. So, FCRA returns, you'll have to include your digital returns as well. And online account information will be in fact included in these records by the government. So, these are some new amendments that the government is trying to in fact bring in, so that they can have a more structured overview of the organizations that are receiving foreign funding. And our sources are also in fact telling us that Amit Shah is likely to table this in the lower house of the Parliament. So, this is what we are talking about. The FCRA framework expands to cover digital identifiers as well. So, you have no cover digitally if you are trying to do so. If you are an organization which comes under the FCRA, you will have to disclose your digital identities. Now, this is expanding to cover digital identifiers as well. So, this framework is being expanded by the government. So, all of these new rules and amendments are coming into the picture. This is likely to be introduced, and remember that these are the changes that our sources are in fact telling us the government is likely to bring in through this tabling of this bill. And remember that something that is of most importance is that the opposition currently is going to have a two-pronged strategy of not letting the government introduce such bills. So, they are looking at protests and disruptions in the House, and they are also looking at protests and demonstrations outside of the House, and they are also demanding accountability, the presence of the Union Home Minister in the Parliament. Let me go across to Professor Madhav Nalapat, who's the editorial director of TSG. He has joined us. Thank you so much, Dr. Nalapat, for your time and for speaking to NewsX. We appreciate it. A very good morning to you. We are looking at the FCRA bills. I want to understand what, according to you, is significant in these amendments that the government is likely to bring through this bill.
Well, the amendments are very necessary for a simple reason that FCRA is being used to fund all kinds of activities. But my worry is that this will only drive this money underground. The reality is a lot of foreign money is pouring into India. A lot of it is coming in through undeclared channels. And all that is going to happen is that instead of coming through declared channels, it will come through undeclared channels. That is the one problem. So I quite agree that there are a lot of NGOs that are doing very suspicious work, but at the same time, you have to understand that, so far the FCRA is concerned, it is effective only in a way of sending back legal funds and tracking legal funds. Illegal funds will continue, and I think that loophole also needs to be closed. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Professor Nalapat, I also want to understand from you, there is a lot of uproar in the House regarding the presence of the Union Home Minister Amit Shah. Sources are also telling us that Amit Shah is likely to present this bill on the floor of the House. How are you looking at this development?
Is very much the brainchild of Home Minister Amit Shah. So obviously, being the Home Minister, he will present the bill. There is nothing unusual about that.
Absolutely, sir. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast, sir, and for your valuable perspective on this issue. With that, viewers, let's also take a look at the top 10 changes that are proposed in the FCRA Amendment Bill 2026. Remember that this comes based on sources, based on reports, because the government has yet to release the details of the amendments that they like to bring across in this FCRA bill. But because of a lot of cases that are cropping up, these are some of the likely amendments that the government may bring in through our sources. Number one is asset vesting proposed during registration, suspension or cancellation. So if you're an organization, your assets will be vetted if you want a registration done, if you want suspension done or cancellations of your FCRA license as well. So all the assets will be vetted. Let's look at point number 2, that is likely to come in: a permanent asset takeover if the registration remains unrestored. Now remember that if your registration remains unrestored, then all your assets could be permanently taken over. This is a likely amendment that is supposed to come in this FCRA bill, and the district judge appeal mechanism introduced for FCRA orders. So now you can also appeal to the district judge in such cases. This is the third likely change that is likely to come in the FCRA Amendment Bill. Number 4 is that the designated authority to manage foreign funded assets. So all foreign funded assets will come under a very particular designated authority. This is a likely change that is supposed to come in. Right of revision against a designated authority's decision. There will also, however, be a right of revision for this designated authority that the government is likely to bring in. So it's not a mechanism where you don't get the right of appeal. Now the maximum jail term for the FCRA offence is cut from 5 years to 1 year. We are looking at dropping the number of stringent punishments that are in place, and the government is likely to change the maximum jail term from 5 years to 1 year if FCRA rules are violated. Let's also look at point number 7, state agencies to obtain centre's approval before FCRA probes. Now the centre is in fact taking more control of the situation. They will make the states come to the center, ask their permission before they start off a probe under the FCRA law. Let's also look at point number 8, where sale proceeds of the vested assets to go to Consolidated Fund of India. So, in case we are saying the seizure of the assets, all of those assets, the sale proceeds will go towards the Consolidated Fund of India. Now, the assets to be returned if FCRA registration is subsequently restored. So, if your FCRA registration is restored, your assets will be given back to you. If not, the sale proceeds will then go off to Consolidated Fund of India. Now, procedure laid down for custody and disposal of FCRA assets as well. So, if the FCRA assets are seized, or if they have to be sold off, or if they have to be returned, all of those laws, those procedures will be properly laid down for custody and disposal as well. So, this is what the government in fact is proposing through these amendments, a more structured approach, a more comprehensive approach in this. So, this is something that we are looking at. This is a bill that is likely to in fact come and be introduced in this session of the Parliament. With that, viewers, let's bring in some breaking news coming in from Hyderabad. Now, a teenager allegedly driving